And welcome into the JUCO Rush. I'm Mike Fraser, downtown Chicago. He's Robert Williamson. Robert, how's life in South Alabama, my good man?
A little bit on the nippy side, otherwise good. How about you in Chicago?
All is well here. Man, some games that you just don't see. You just don't see the freight train coming. What jumped out at you this weekend?
Two things, both out of Texas. Navarro winning by 51. That was a shocker over Trinity Valley. And then Nemi with that win over Cisco. Cisco only a single loss coming into the ball game. And then you got the defensive Nemi. Lights on, off, whichever it is, that's great. 10 sacks in the game from the defense. What a day for Nemi's defense.
But great linebackers, head coach that took over in July, and Oliver Sukup took that position. They're 3-3, 2-2. I mean, Johnny Fano, Damon Mayberry, he was NJCAA Defensive Player of the Week. Samson Alafipo, boy, you talk about a nickel. Robert, Alafipo will be the biggest nickel guy you'll likely ever find. Just a tough guy, great blitz guy on top of it, and that was on display. You throw in Damon Mayberry, 15 tackles, a half sack, FCS guy. If he goes FCS, Robert, he's an All-American, hands down. If he goes higher, he'll be a special player and a special find for that program. And as for Fano, Temple offer right now, a handful of others, but his stock continues to rise. So that really jumped out at me. 10 sacks. And hey, Landon Vessel, the quarterback at Cisco, what a great ball he throws. He continues to flourish. The Cisco kid getting it done at Cisco College. All right, let's take a look at the NJCAA Top 10 as that was released earlier this week. And, you look at the biggest, no big surprises there. I think for me, Mississippi Gulf Coast, with that loss to an unranked team, they dropped to 7. I think the committee was very kind and very fair to them, and that shows, I think, the respect that they have for the play that goes on in Mississippi. All right, let's look at our JUCO Rush top 6 teams. We want to break this down this time of year, Robert, to really the 6 best teams that are competing. This will change each week based on team performances, but you see mine right there. No surprise, Hutchinson, just a well-oiled machine at number 1. Iowa Western at number 2. What a great offense they have. I've got Garden City at number 3, 318 yards on the ground per game rushing. Leads the country in that category. Love what Rob Manchester is doing in the backfield with the talented running backs he has at Georgia Military at 4. And then I've come around Robert on Holmes. I thought I was a little harsh on him last week, and when I studied the numbers and just watched, I said, man, Mike, you're way off on this. And I got them as the number 5 team, followed by Snow at 6.
Mike, as was once said, grasshopper, follow the master, watch the master. Now, I got to work with you a little more. Obviously, you're coming around by picking Holmes over Northwest. You and I had that argument last week, and now you got Holmes bumped up to the 5 spot, which, by the way, they should be 4, but that's okay. I can live with 5, but I got to work on you where Garden City is concerned. Garden City and Georgia Military College. I've got Hutch 1, Iowa Western 2, Georgia Military 3, and I don't have Garden City in my top 6. Sorry, Mike, but, they had a loss early in the year to Navarro and lost by 14. Their wins over quality opponents are teams that are now in the 10 to 15 range in the rankings. Georgia Military College, their only loss to the then 1, the now 2 number team in the country, while getting quality wins over a Tyler Junior College and over a Lackawanna. Georgia Military, I've got 3, Holmes 4. I'm moving Mississippi Gulf Coast from my 2 a week ago to my 5 spot, and then Snow at 6.
What I don't understand, I just don't understand your connection or your disconnect between Garden City and Georgia Military, because Garden City, they lead the nation in rushing with 318 yards a game. Do you know who's number 2?
Georgia Military.
At 292 yards. So now let's look on the defensive side of it. Garden City, 10th in the country, giving up 92 yards. You know who's 8th in the country?
Georgia Military is number 1 against the run.
At 89 yards. They're rushing against the run. So the numbers, these teams are so similar. Now you see DeJuan Lacey coming out in the backfield. Gary had a couple of good games now. That offensive line is loaded with D1 guys. You have to run the ball in the Jayhawk to be successful. Garden City is doing that. I just don't, you're a smart guy. I just don't know how you don't see that, and you just can't make that connection with Garden City being a top 4 team.
Well, Mike, first of all, let's again go back a week ago. Holmes Northwest. Let me bring that up first. And then secondly, how about a Keenan Phillips? I mean, if you want to count a running back for running back, what about Keenan Phillips, who, by the way, going into last week wasn't the leading ground gainer for Georgia Military College. Traquan Jones was. So how do you thus, I mean, unless, of course, you are favoring the offense over the defense, you've already conceded the fact that run-wise, Garden City won, Georgia Military 2, but against the run, Georgia Military 1, and Garden City 2. Plus, again, we look at the wins of quality opponents and the loss. And that loss was to a then unranked team, whereas Georgia Military's loss was to the then number 1 ranked team.
Well, I got, Garden City's 4th in the country against the pass defensively. Georgia Military is 25th. So there's a little drop off there.
Yes.
And then Garden City playing in the Jayhawk. I don't know what conference is the best conference right now. Everybody likes to have that argument. I think rational minds can't tell you that right now. I think you could in about a month. But I just think Garden City is balanced, and they are a running machine. And look, they've got Hutch and Iowa Western on the schedule, so that'll tell the tale. But those Scott Strohmeyer at Iowa Western and Drew Dallas at Hutch, they know what a freight train they're staring down the barrel at when they face Garden City. So I just think I believe in them. I know they lost a game. So what? Teams lose games. I mean, outside of Hutch is just a machine. But Iowa Western's got a loss. Georgia Military's got a loss. Holmes is undefeated right now, but they've got to run the gauntlet. More on that later. I'm just high on Garden City. I'm not moving off them. And I got a lot of respect for what they're doing out there. And I think they're worthy of the 3 line.
Mike, I've still got hope for you because I believe I heard the same words last week about Northwest Mississippi. You were high on them. You believed in them. So I'm thinking that it's possible 1 week from today, you'll go, Robert, let's move GMC to 3.
Time will tell. We shall see. It may happen. Look, I'm not forecasting it. I don't know if Garden City is going to run the table, but right now with what they've played, the numbers they're putting up, man, that is a very good football team right now. Okay, let's go players of the week. Robert, what do you say? Should we jump into that? All right, let's go. I'll start out with my players of the week. I'm going to go to Mississippi. I'm going to Holmes Community College, and there he is, Chase Richardson. Boy, what a terrific effort. He put together 17 of 27 for 349 yards, 3 touchdowns. He ran it for a score. And he's one of the main reasons why that football team is 6-0. Then I'm going down to Texas. Boy, Tyler is just tough. And there's one tough customer right there. Look at that kid, huh? Will Cornelson, linebacker, 10 total tackles, 2.5 sacks, 3 TFLs, a forced fumble, and a crucial 13-10 win over a conference rival, Blinn. Those are my 2 players of the week.
My 2 players of the week, I'm starting with Ian Gonzalez, the quarterback from Pearl River. He was 8 of 17 passing, 67 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. That doesn't grab you, does it, Mike? Well, hang on. Ran the football 32 times for 238 yards. 45-yard run was his longest. He had a TD as well. Combined, let's see, I'm not real good with math, but I think, the 7 and the 8. I think it's around 300 yards total offense for Gonzalez. But this gentleman had a heck of a night for Pearl River, and he is one of my 2 players of the game. The other is a QB as well, and this is Jaden Young from Monroe University. All he did was put the ball up 15 times, completed 11, 336 yards, 6 touchdown passes, and hit 5 different receivers on those 6 TDs. And by the way, carrying the ball once for 28 yards. So a couple of QBs are my players of the week.
A solid effort, no doubt. I'll tell you another guy who's playing well. We've got up next the nation's leading rusher in the NJCAA, and that is the Hutchinson running back, Wayman Jordan Jr. He sat down earlier with the JUCO Rush. Wayman, you look at last year, you were pushing Tyrell Reed. You know, he left to go to Arkansas.
Yes,
you were
sir.
pushing him last year really to be the top back. This year, you're that guy. You're the leading rusher in the country. Your confidence level had to be sky high coming into this year. Is that true? And elaborate on that for us.
Yes, sir. And my confidence got it went way through the roof. Just like getting up in the morning, because I know how much preparation I put in for the season. Like I put in work at 5 a.m. every day in the spring, like doing anything extra and just taking care of my body even more. So I was already knew what I could do this season based on how I prepared for it.
Wayman, a running back, wants to carry the football. You've had so much success at Hutch as a team, then maybe you don't carry the football quite as much as a running back would like. 87 carries thus far this year. Of course, that's still plenty enough to make you the leading rusher in the NJCAA. But how do you balance that, yeah, man, I want to do great as a team, but I want to carry that football too, Coach?
Honestly, like individual success is not like my biggest thing. Like I care about winning really way more than I care about stats. I wouldn't even care about being the leading rusher in the country as long as we winning and everybody else performing too good. So
where are you going next year?
I don't even know yet. I haven't decided yet. I've been thinking about it. I will probably be narrowing down to my top 3 next month, late next month.
Now, I got to ask you where those top 3 are concerned. Does the knowledge that you would start immediately versus maybe sitting for a year, is that going to have a bearing on where you go?
Yes, sir. I mean, I always want to play wherever I go. So my first year, I do want to play. I wouldn't mind being behind somebody like second string or something like that for a year. But I want to definitely get on the field because I only have 2 years left after this year.
Wayman, what's your best asset, your best quality as a running back?
I think my best quality is probably making people miss in open space. I think I do that well. Coming into the season, I worked on that all summer, like very hard, and just focused on nothing but making people miss and making different cuts.
Who's the toughest team you faced so far this year?
Toughest team we faced so far. In my honest opinion, like for the run game, I think Iowa Central was the toughest team we didn't face so far when it came to the run.
You know, you look at this offense. I think Samari and you complement each other very well. Talking about Samari Collier, your quarterback.
Yes, sir.
Elaborate on that relationship between you two guys.
I mean, we always together. We go to the YMCA together. We do all recovery together. I mean, he's my neighbor too. we right next to each other. We like literally right next door. Like when we not in football, I still be around him and stuff like that. So the chemistry it's always been there. So yeah.
Last question for you. You've had 87 rushes so far. Okay.
Yes,
has that been by design by the coaching staff, or has the games dictated that number?
I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, the game plan is always just to do what's going to work against whatever defense, and we just look at how people line up into certain formations and then dictate with the game plan what we're going to do like that. But I mean, I don't really get the control how many times I touch the ball and stuff like that. I mean, we run a RPO system, so the quarterback could pull it at any moment and the carries could go down or he could just give it.
Wayman Jordan, the leading rusher in the NJCAA. Thanks for jumping on the JUCO Rush.
Yes, sir.
That's another good one. Boy, thanks a lot, Wayman, and thanks to Coach Drew Dallas and Steve Carpenter up at Hutchinson to set that up for us.
Want your team or business to truly stand out? Look no further than SportFX Designs. They specialize in high-impact sports graphics that demand attention. Whether it's custom animated logos, sleek animations, or full branding solutions, SportFX Designs delivers professional, eye-catching visuals that elevate your brand. Head over to www.sportfxdesigns.com and see how they can bring your vision to life. I can attest. Man, some great folks to work with, and they almost can read your mind as to what you need for a graphic.
Oh, they are. Tip of the cap to Blake. Does a terrific job, and we're glad to have him on board here on the JUCO Rush. The JUCO Rush powered by Pepsi. Allen Beverages, refreshingly local since 1947 down in Gulfport, Mississippi. Robert, the JUCO Weekly Trophy. You've heard about that, right?
Indeed.
The trophy chase will be the trophy will be presented on December 17th down in Texas at the National Championship Banquet. We are pumped and excited to partner with Dr. Chris Parker and the NJCAA. I've got my top 5 guys. I am not a voter. On this, we have a panel that handles that. But these are just some of the guys that are strong contenders for the JUCO Weekly Trophy. Robert, you kicked this one off.
Man, you and I do not collaborate over the course of the week as to who we are picking so that we don't have the same. And by golly, we do have the same. And I guess the one that kind of stood out to me, I'm thinking I've got Mike on this because I'm putting Darian White in there. He leads the NJCAA in tackles. And what do? You stick Darian White in there as well. Hunter Decker is quarterback at Iowa Western. And how can he not be on anybody's list? The guy leads the country in passing. He is the real deal. A couple of great running backs out of Mississippi at Mississippi Gulf Coast and out of Kansas at Hutch, Trey Hall and Wayman Jordan. We just had that conversation with Wayman. The only difference between you and I, you got the receiver Titus Myers from Iowa Western. Granted, great receiver. I'm going with Georgia Military's Keenan Phillips. He's an all-around guy, better than 100 yards all-purpose running. He runs the football, catches the football, returns kickoffs. As a matter of fact, he's got touchdowns running, receiving, and returning kickoffs to the tune of 14 total. So the only difference between you and I in the top 5 currently, and of course this is a fluid top 5, it changes week to week, is that
no doubt. Linebacker Darian White, my guy, 76 tackles, leads the country. He ranks first with 12.7 a game. Hunter Decker's 1,909 yards, 14 touchdown passes. His completion percentage is 66.2%. Another guy like Trey Hall, the running back for Mississippi Gulf Coast, ranks second in rushing. Wayman Jordan Jr. leads the nation with 748 yards. He ranks first in yards per carry with 8.6 in a minimum of 6 games. And he's second in touchdowns with 10. So those are a couple of my guys. Titus Myers, another one. He's a go-to guy in the red zone for Hunter Deckers. But look, the list is long and distinguished. Legitimate guys, I think, that have a great run at this right now, Robert. Defensively, Will Cornelson at Tyler. He's right up there. Javen Augustus at Highland on the defensive line. He's up there. Defensive end Tavion Atkinson for Trinity Valley. He leads the nation in sacks with 8. You go on the offensive side, Donnie Smith, the quarterback at Snow. He's right there, and his team is winning football games. Demarion Petit, the running back in Northwest. Interesting stat on him, Robert. This is amazing. He has touched the ball 149 times. 1 fumble and didn't lose it. 1 fumble in 149 touches, and he ranks 3rd in the country in rushing yards. And the yardage is they're only about 10, 15, 20 yards apart. So those are just some of the other guys that are really strong contenders for the JUCO Weekly Trophy. I mean, think about that. Petit, 149 touches.
Well, and
1 fumble.
What about Nondredas Giles of Holmes? 4 interceptions, 3 of those for touchdowns. Or how about Samari Collins, who is leading Hutch to an unbeaten mark? I mean, if he's not the QB, are they unbeaten? So there are a lot of great players that aren't on the list this week that might be next week.
And you heard Wayman say it, and Drew Dallas will tell you the same thing. Those guys push each other. And Collier is really on the national scene, his numbers aren't MVP numbers, but he's an MVP to that football team. I think either guy right now, Wayman or Samari, are your MVPs for that football team. One without the other, the team without the other may not be undefeated. That's the importance. That's the weight and value that those two guys bring to Hutchinson. So, yeah, wide open race. Hey, how about DeJuan Lacey at Garden City? 4 straight 100-plus yard rushing games, getting it done. So he's on the move as well. So a lot to talk about as well on those guys. All right. Playoffs. We're starting to get that picture right now. Let's take a look. What we want to do is let's go to Mississippi. Let's get it up on the board there. There we go. The JUCO Rush Conference playoff picture. We talked about it in the pre-production meeting here, Robert. Mississippi, because it's always complex because there's 14 teams that play football. So they split it up in 2 divisions, the North and the South. To me, the most compelling is the North. You look at that, and the headliner to me is, East Mississippi has been the heavyweight champion for a long time, decades, 2 decades now since Buddy Stevens has been there. This year, big news, East Mississippi behind the 8 ball. They got a hard road to climb to try to get into the postseason at this point, Robert.
When has East Mississippi not been in control of their own destiny? They are not in control of their own destiny. They've got to have other teams win to enhance their slim chances of getting in. And I got to admit, it's going to be a very tough row to hoe. I think 1's out, and 2 is going to be difficult for East Mississippi.
Going to be tough. Holmes is sitting pretty good. Northwest is sitting pretty good. Itawamba and Holmes go at it this week. Now, you could say, well, Holmes, really, this is the tough part of their schedule now. They're playing 3 straight quality football teams. So we'll see, what kind of muster they're made of. I believe in them. I think they're strong. So we'll see how that North shakes out. If you had to pick something right now, would you take a stab at who do you think the top 2 teams on the North are going to be?
I think the top 2 teams are going to be Holmes and Northwest, but I'm going to stick with my guns from the perspective that I don't think anybody in the NJCAA, and that includes Hutch, is going to go the entire season unbeaten. So I think Holmes wins the North, but they lose the regular season finale to East Mississippi. My 2 team in the North, Northwest.
So you like those 2 on the North. In the South, we've got, you see Gulf Coast and Colin, a colossal football game this week as those 2 teams go at it. Just goes to show you how cold-hearted the Mississippi League is. An unranked team at East Central comes up and bites Gulf Coast and knocks them back. You got these 2 teams, Colin playing well, 1 conference loss. That was to Jones. Their other loss out of Division to Holmes. So, and then you've got East Central, Pearl River, Jones in the hunt. So, yeah, I mean, that South is might be a little easier to predict at this point, but I don't know. What do you think?
I'm wondering if it is easier to predict because I want to take that in the hunt, scratched from East Central, and say in the thick, because East Central is in control of their own destiny. Here's the unique thing about the top 3 teams in the South at this moment. They are all in control of their own destiny. If Mississippi Gulf Coast wins out, they're in. If Colin wins out, they're in. If East Central wins out, they're in. So it is really interesting in the South.
That it is, and it'll big one coming up this week. I'm still high on Mississippi Gulf Coast. I think they find a way to the conference championship game when they get going in November. So we'll see how that plays out. Key games this week as we wrap up the JUCO Rush powered by Pepsi. And here we go. I'll give you my 2. Gulf Coast at Colin. No surprise there. And then Garden City taking on Butler. That was a 5-point game last year. A lot of respect for Colin. Really like Glenn Davis. I'm happy for him. 21 years there. Like, you're 21 years anywhere. Man, you're a thoroughbred. And he's a battler. And he's a guy you root for, Robert. You and I work for him. All that being said, I'm going with Gulf Coast in this one. and then give me Garden City. And I just think Gulf Coast balance, running back, offense, defense is really a big deal for me. I've been high on them the whole year, and they got knocked down once. I'm not going to bail. So give me Gulf Coast, and then I'll take Garden City the way they rush the football.
We are just agreeing too much. I'm going to go with Gulf Coast as well. Maybe slightly different reasons. I think they're just totally ticked after that loss to East Central. And that really got the attention of the Bulldogs. And in essence, their backs are against the wall from the perspective of if they want to play for a national championship, they've got to win out. So I picked the Bulldogs over Colin. The Hutch Coffeyville game, it's Coffeyville's homecoming. Who schedules Hutch as their homecoming opponent? But Coffeyville did. I don't think Coffeyville's going to win the game. I think Hutch is going to win the game. But I do think this is the beginning of that really murderer's row, if you will, for Hutch to prove their worth. I don't think, as I mentioned, anybody goes unbeaten in the NJCAA this year. I don't think this is the loss for Hutchinson, but I think it's part of that tough row that starts the pain for the Blue Dragons.
Who do you take, Garden City, Butler?
Garden City. I'm with you, man. I'm going with Garden City.
That's going to be a great football game.
Yep.
That's a rivalry that goes back a long way. That a wrap on the JUCO Rush for this week. We thank you so much for tuning in. The JUCO Rush powered by Allen Beverages and Pepsi, proud partners of the JUCO Rush and community college athletics across the board. They are a Pepsi bottler, Gulfport, Mississippi, refreshingly local since 1947. Robert, good to see you, and we'll talk to you next week.